All right, I'm live. Today it's Friday, the 14th of July. I can't believe this year is kind of zipping by fast for me. Let's see, I figure I'd yap about a few things. It's Friday, after all. I would have done it a couple of weeks ago, but had trouble with our internet. It was all messed up, so I don't want to get into that. All right. Again, if anybody has something to say, which is nobody, you're welcome to put something into the chat. Let's see. News today. Star Trek Discovery. Normally, I would not talk about this. I thought I had done my last video on it, but the other day I saw something which it almost infuriated me when I first heard it. But then I realized it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And according to Sci-Fi Wire, um, the people doing the show, producing the show, decided to hire fact checkers to see what's canon. When I first heard this, I was like, "What the hell? What are these people this incompetent?" Then I realized, after I slept on it, I realized Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, they've all done egregious, very egregious harm when it comes to Star Trek canon. I mean, they just toss stuff in, and we're supposed to sort it out later. And by far, uh, give me a second. My phone just bleeped. Don't know why, but we'll find out. Okay, watch live now. David Seaman, Donald Trump, John Podesta's protector is at the top. Okay, that's wonderful. Don't know who John Podesta is. Well, at least not personally. I know who he is, but still, I don't think they're ever going to catch that guy for doing all the crap that he's doing. Quite frankly, him, Hillary, and all these other types, they're going to go free. So wishful thinking on everybody else's part. But back to what I was saying with Star Trek. Um, these guys, and again, I began to really think about the fact that Star Trek, again, they over the years they've just tossed in whatever. And us fans, we sat there asking, "Hey, but what about this thing in this episode? Yeah, in this episode, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened." And basically, we're pretty much ignored. The fans are largely ignored. It's sad, but it's true. I mean, it's incredibly sad. You've got a lot of people that just basically they think that they could write something. Oh yeah, I could put something and just call it Star Trek, get away with it. Um, saying that they're at least guys to kind of make sure that things match up. They still have a ways to go in my book. Change my mind. Let's say it's episode two kind of has a better kind of give us something better to look at. The canon, and they try to make sure that I guess what is it. Oh, I don't really know what to tell you out there. Okay, let me just do this real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to my computer here to get a new one at some point in time. Like I said, I now kind of applaud having fact checkers. Is with like all sci-fi shows. I know some of them barely last a season. It, 2 seasons, if not three. So if you're going to do any science fiction program, leave out conspiracies, cliffhanger to where everybody's asking what the hell happened. I mean, for instance, I made a video about about Emerald City, a show with great potential, and what did they do? Leave it on a fucking hand. Did I say hangover earlier? Yeah, I wish I could have a couple of drinks right now. But they left it on a cliffhanger. That is going to be the most annoying thing on planet Earth. You do not have to take a show and do that. At least give some closure. I hate to sound like Sheldon Cooper in that one episode of The Big Bang Theory where he was like losing his mind because didn't like the fact that Alphas was canceled. It's the same thing. The show Alcatraz, a show my girlfriend actually really liked. She liked that. She liked that show, and I was really curious. Again, Terra Alpha. Again, another show with great potential. Oh, let's just leave it on the cliffhanger with some really weird Bermuda Triangle shit. More questions asked. Oh, okay, great. This is why being a proponent for science fiction, I more often than not, I have to ask myself the question: network television. Don't, don't. We all know what happened with the original Star Trek. They put that show on. It was on, I think, Thursday nights. Then they moved it to Saturday nights, and then they canceled it, and it was like, okay, that was it. But they didn't leave it on a cliffhanger per se. I mean, they didn't complete that 5-year mission, but still, it kind of gave us some closure. Plus, with the movies and the like. Speaking of Star Trek, um, a lot of people are giving a good amount of flack to J.J. Abrams, and believe it or not, um, at a video by a guy named E.C. Henry. And if you watch his videos on J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, watch it and watch J.J. Abrams' Star Trek again, you will have a better understanding of his movies. For instance, everybody was complaining about Spock's emotional outbursts and the like. If you kind of look at the first few seasons, Spock would often more or less smile. He found amusing. And then you talk about the whole concept of the Uhura Spock. Well, when you think about it, in at least 2 episodes, Charlie X and she flirts with them in scenes, and it's kind of interesting when you watch that. I mean, like I say, it's worth watching. E.C. Henry's video, I recommend it. If you watch it, you're going to come away with a different understanding of how J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, particularly also with in regards to believe it or not, because he makes reference to the fact that if you look at the motion picture, that's technically the reboot. It's redesigned. It's just a reboot with the same cast members. And what they did is they redesigned the ship. They redesigned literally everything. Klingons that don't look like the ones we remember from the original series. Because I remember when the movie came out, the motion picture came out, and actually before that, would show us. You would see in a magazine Starlog. How dated I am. Starlog was like before the internet. You had to get Starlog. You had to get it. That was the pretty much the only outlet or magazine, the outlet in which you found out which movies were coming out, which science fiction shows were coming out, and then it kind of almost tail went close to video games, to which they had to create Blip magazine at the time, which was an offshoot of Starlog. Because I remember one of the editors from Starlog, Susan Adamo, went to edit that magazine. But like I said, Starlog again was the premier thing. It was the go-to guide in, like, let's say, Time Magazine, Newsweek, and there's always some little thing with some tongue-in-cheek, uh, bullshitty article about science fiction. Basically a big dumb kid for looking at it. And like I said, we had that as our. Um, of course, when you have, geez, I love talking about Starlog because, like I said, it was that thing to have back in the day. Also, you would get some in-depth articles from guys like Harlan Ellison and other premier science fiction writers. Great. Nowadays, you can just look on the internet, and in some cases, you may not even be able to find it. I mean, you have to dig just in-depth discussion about science fiction. Which reminds me of how Sci-Fi Channel used to have their thing back in the 90s, where people would talk science fiction, and it was actually cool to watch. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. They're talking. Then somewhere along the lines, we got inundated with these horrible Roger Corman films in which bikini-clad women become happy meals for giant monsters that seem to be ninjas because they could sneak up on you. Get that out. But like I said, I really miss those days because nowadays it just comes out instantaneously, and there was something about having a magazine in which you were waiting next month, especially when they said next month we will have this in depth to so and so replacing Peter Davison as Doctor Who, because that's how we used to find out who would be the next Doctor. It was through Starlog. Find out too much from like Newsweek or Time or something like that, or even Entertainment Weekly back then, or People Magazine. It was just you had to go through Starlog, or would mention it. But I remember when I found out that Peter Davison was going to leave Doctor Who and Colin Baker was going to take over, and I saw the he's in his outfit and he's got this umbrella and he's sitting on a log. I was like, I not anticipated, but what the hell? I again that was for us. I mean, the we live in the age of the internet where again things are just there at the snap of a finger or a click of a button or a click of a mouse. Let's see. Maybe I should talk a little bit about some of this stuff. Uh, I'm just amazed at this whole fiction narrative. It is a narrative. What what I find I can't say frustrating, but it just kind of weirds me out. My girlfriend, she her family, they're big time Democrats. I mean, there's like no room anywhere for any other thought. And conversation that some of our relatives are having while we're at a get together, I think it was that they were having, and I'm standing around and politics about Ted Cruz and all these other guys, and they just say, "Oh, they're evil," and I'm like, and I really couldn't handle it. I was like, "How can you? Are you really kid trying to tell me that these guys are evil? Define evil. Is it honestly getting up in the morning, twirling their mustaches, wanting to kill people?" But they believe that. And don't get me started on, dear God, I never saw so many sad faces at Thanksgiving in my entire life. I was like, get over it. You guys are all wishing that he's Hitler or a fascist. That justifies your narrative. Because if 4 or 8 years go by and none of the Hitler fascist shit happens, and they're happily and say, y'all whipped yourselves into a fucked up frenzy listening to bullshit. Instead of trusting your gut and using logic, you'd rather listen to some pundit tell you what to think. All the while, they try to convince you that you're thinking for yourselves. I swear politics is, oh gosh, the way I see things now, not have any hope for humanity, and you just hope for the big asteroid to wipe us out. Hey, other things going on. DeRay McKesson losing his collective shit over an ape in a blue jacket. I gotta say this. I gotta get this off my chest also. DeRay McKesson is that guy we've all heard about. You know, he was alienated as a kid, like myself. But instead of devoting to something useful, he chose the easiest, lamest study in college he could. The lamest thing he could. He put that along with, I guess, social outrage. And now he's making a good amount of money doing his thing, protesting and the like. Now, keep in mind, he's the guy making money. Anybody else doing that isn't. You're enough and smart enough to really get in there and start saying, hey, look, this is what I believe. This is how, and get that TV gig like he got. Profit, where money comes in and it goes to the same politicians over and over and over and over and over again. Like I say, it's a good scam. Just like that other guy. I'm not going to mention his name because guys like Bunty King and that's some black guy, um, and Tommy Sotomayor, and a host of even Crowton T got in on this guy. Like I said, I'm not going to mention his name, and knowing this guy, he's probably going to erase my try and false flag this video. Like I said, I'm not mentioning it by name. I'm just saying this is just messed up. And to me, it reminds me of the same kind of guys I remember in high school, where they would they thought that they were the thug and they did all their other shit. That that game wasn't going to carry them, so they come up with a new sort of I can't say scam, but they come up with a new, not even hustle. They come up with a new idea. I'm going to call it that. Trying to be as cool as possible because this guy might flag my dumbass, or then dox me or something like that. So, and I don't feel like getting doxxed, but I just find it that he's done this. I mean, like I said, he reminds me of the guys I knew in high school where the thing that they did, all the crap that they did, wasn't going to carry over till their 20s and 30s. You know, it was had to end, so they tried something else, and and again, it reminds me of those guys I remember because being a nerd, I used to get fucked around with a lot as a kid, and then those, they make fun of me for the way I spoke, knew what I was talking about, the fact that I understood science, I understood literature, I understood a whole host of things. And what these guys would do is they would treat you like shit, accuse you of talking white, the whole nine. They would just say all that. And then eventually, those guys would wind up going to jail or some shit. And then after their stint in jail, they get some weird religious conversion where they become Muslims or they become like those black Israelis. Then they kind of, excuse me, then bills on the street. And then they see you and then they say, hey, I remember you smart, man, you smart. And then they try to get you into it. First, they try to soften you by telling you how smart you are. I know that. But then they want to get you into the game where you're going to be sitting there everybody else. And I'm like going, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I got other things in this universe to worry about other than hawking oils on the street. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat, which I doubt. Let's see. Chat. Oh, nobody in the chat. Talk to me. Bye. Well, Uh, I always wondered. I meant to find out how to do an invite on these things. Forgetting how. Let's see. Wigan versus Liverpool free. Ooh. What nightmarish things we could do. I'm trying not to leave so much dead air because that's a sucks. Let's see who's in here. It's just let's see. I'm going to try and do something here, so bear with me if I go a little on the silent. Let's see. Uh, just checking something here. Looking at my own screen here to see what I got. And the thunder out here. I gotta say, for one thing, here in New Jersey, this is like the coolest um summer we've had in a while. Um, bizarre, at least in my book. Like last year, it was like I don't know. It was just hot. Basically, it was like 90 degrees almost every day. Really weird. Hey, oh, let's see, followers, following. Me, is looking. Oh wait, he's probably asleep right now. I was gonna send a to a charming man, but I was like, oh wait, he's probably sleeping. I understand this thing here. Let's see, people. Who else is out there? All right. Your circle. I put somebody in here. I am totally devoid of things, friends in your circle. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Friends, what happened to me, man? Empty. Now, who should I add? See, post from circle, delete circle. No. Circle. No. Let me try something else. Let's see. Okay. Comics. One of the rough things about comics these days is, I guess, how can I put this? We've got numerous individuals in who, quite frankly, I don't know what their writing is. I honestly do not know what they're writing. Excuse me. Say is here we go. Let's try this. Okay, let's see if go any further. Background noise, so bear with me. I'm going to try to somebody to the chat. Say, let's see. In America, I want to live in America. Oh, sorry. Here we go. You reply. In here, send a shout out to one. Maybe he's got something interesting to conversation. man, but I got to get a new computer also. Hold on. All right. Uh, Sent. Well, hopefully he'll get this, and then we won't have nothing to worry about. Let's see. Uh, Blimey. Uh, Back to comics. People point this out, girl, because they got the place Lily from the AT&T commercials. I can't remember her name offhand. Very interesting. I wouldn't say it's one of those you know, Slavic or Cyrillic names, and it's kind of hard to. I wouldn't say hard to pronounce, but it's kind of one of those things. Well, like getting her to play Squirrel Girl. Kendrick has been busting her buns to uh, play the part. Um, you know, this is Hollywood. You know, they do certain things like that. So, but let's see. They wanted sure how. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. I know a lot of people are somewhat disappointed, and how another shout out to somebody. Maybe they might be able to jump in on this one. Actually, no, forget it. Subscriber, you'll probably be looking at this thing anyway about it. Let's see. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. Can't do multitasking here. Let's see. I discussed. Yeah. I remember. I'm not sure who the artist is, but I think Law or Diversity in Comics. Yeah, I think it's Diversity in Comics. About that, the artist, or was it Kathleen Cummings? Jeez. Well, they pointed out, one of those guys pointed out that the artist for Squirrel Girl isn't even doing her best. If you're not doing your best when it comes to a comic, because every time I look at a page of Squirrel Girl and I keep looking at the sort of goofy thing that they keep doing with her, and she's not drawn to look cute. She's drawn to look kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, childish. And that's another thing that I keep noticing. They've been turning women into weird, childlike innocence. Like, how can I put it? Like the princess from the Empress, the childlike Empress. They're stuck in this weird mode where they can't grow up, they can't take responsibility for anything, and it's you know, and don't get me started on how they're drawing She-Hulk now. I mean, I remember back in the day, She-Hulk was an attractive big green lady. Yeah, the way John Byrne drew her was great. The way Buscema drew her, great. The way Romita drew her, great. The way Golden drew her, great. An artist is doing it, it's like, no, come on. Somebody described it as, I think this is Diversity in Comics, I'm pretty sure now. He described it as very masculine men, very feminine women. Guys are so, ugh. And the women are like, oh, I'm big and strong, you can't stop me, but I'm just a child. Responsibility for anything. Kind of like a Disney feminist. What a Disney feminist is. A Disney feminist is she's that character that, for some weird and fallible reason, knows more than the adults around her. experienced adults in politics, everything. That's the Disney feminist, even though she's 14 years old. Evildoers, her mom and dad on planet Earth, including a principal. That's pretty much Squirrel Girl, I guess. So the novelty out of this character, and dare I say they made it into maybe Squirrel Girl was a bit of a joke in its creation, and there was a running gag of how she would defeat her enemies. But now her running joke is every time people look at her, she looks like she's no offense, she looks like she's got Down syndrome. She doesn't act like an adult. She's supposed to be of college age, but she doesn't act like someone who's graduating and most likely having to deal with the real world. I mean, it's just kind of weird that that's all the characters we kind of get when it comes to female characters. And the complaints you get if they do show some form of vulnerability. The fact that they could say, wait, this is messed up, and or they could say, hey, I don't think I can do this. I'm not gonna catch slack for it. It's not gonna be the guy gonna say, haha, now this is a job for a man. Haha. They'll say, no, that's all right, man. I can understand. You can, so don't expect yourself to do it. I mean that's kind of what we're getting. Um, Marvel and their forced diversity. I said it once, I'll say it again. I'll be impressed if they show to deal with Islamic terrorism. I would be impressed. Honestly, I would be impressed. Because that means that they can at least talk about it, but and that they're not going to do it. They won't do it. In fact, they'll do the opposite. They'll show, like it just happened in England, the white dude who tried to run everybody down at the mosque and shit. That's what they're going to show. They're not going to show what it's like. They're not going to have a real honest discussion. It's like the honest discussion on race that everybody likes to talk about. One video, the honest discussion on race, the way I've seen it, C-SPAN, whenever the Congressional Black Caucus or some other group gets together, it's always the same damn thing. Wag your finger, blame Whitey, and leave it at that. You're supposed to sit down and listen to every last grievances, and you're the cause for all our grievances on planet Earth. There you go. That's pretty much what you're getting when it comes to the discussion on race. There is no discussion. Speaking of race, I don't know. This past weekend, I was Tommy Sotomayor played the video about the Christian Newsom murders, and I've often said this every time I watch something like that, hear something like that, or watch something like on Discovery ID stuff. How do you get up in the morning and make a decision like that to snuff somebody's life out? How does that work? Seriously, how does that work for anybody to get up and say, I think I'll do this. I think I'll rape and torture a couple. I I don't understand it. I don't get it. And then people constantly invoke the name of Emmett Till, and I'm thinking, okay, by your logic, are you supposed to tell me that they should get off scot free because of Emmett Till? He had the freebie under OJ, if y'all remember that. Remember when he got off? All I saw was black folks cheering. Oh yeah, we won. What did we win? Yeah, a Pyrrhic victory at best. Where's a Pyrrhic victory? I don't know. I got it from reading. All I know is that I still worry about the future right now. I don't know how people are going to be able to what's going on. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point because you can only blame people for so long. There's going to be a backlash, and it won't be a verbal backlash. It'll be something major. And and the definition is really kind of annoying. Racism is prejudice plus power. Okay, let's go by that logic. What happens one day when they're no longer in power and we are? They can say racism. They can shout it all day. They can say, we can call this racism. What are you going to say when they're out of power? Or better yet, what happens when this country might be predominantly Hispanic, Indian, and Korean? It's about white privilege. Oh, wait, they're not in charge anymore. Korean privilege. Oh, I lost a viewer. Oh, well. Can't have them all. Well, uh, where could I go? Oh, I got a viewer again. Oh, isn't that neat? Like I said, at some point, I get the funny feeling that we're going to be crying wolf for a long, long time, especially in the black community. We like to cry wolf about everything. It's somebody else's fault. It's this guy's fault. It's that guy's fault. It's I don't know. This is probably a good time for me to get ready to sign off because if my power goes out or my internet goes out, I'm going to be pissed. Um, Perhaps I'm going to do this next week at 3 o'clock. Leave a message in the comment section. Until then, I'm Filter. I'm out of here.